Shalom, peace and blessings. Welcome to the Fourth Angels Learning Center. I want to thank you guys for tuning in to our spiritual warfare study. We're doing the full armor of God, how to put on the armor of Yah. And we went through a few very important principles about the armor. One of those principles is why you're putting on the armor. We talked about the wiles of the devil and what the wiles of the devil actually means. Now, the wiles of the devil is referring to the trickery, the deception, and the lies that he tries to cause us to believe and think about what Yah says. He tries to divert our minds from what Yah says and to believe something that's a lie, to believe something that's opposite. And it could be pertaining to your situation, and it could also be pertaining to you. Sometimes we get depressed because we have insecurities looking at ourselves a certain way, while Yah promises us certain comfort and rest and peace, and how he is opening his arms to deliver us. The enemy makes us think that we are foolish and dumb and unable to gain access to Yah, and this is not true. So we need to understand how to guard ourselves from these attacks from the enemy. Spiritual warfare is over the mind. It's a desire that Satan, the enemy, has over our minds to cause us to divert ourselves from following Yah and obeying his word. This is exactly what happened from Genesis, and has been consistently occurring throughout history. So today we're going to be talking about specifically the armor of the feet. Now, the second thing that I wanted to bring out about the armor, remind everybody, is that Yah tells us to put them on. It's not something that you sit there and you ask Yah and you wait for him to put it on you. It's telling you to put the armor on. So it's giving you access and free access to obtain this, but you have to actually put in the effort to put these on. And we talked about the breastplate of righteousness, and we talked about the girding of the loins, and we talked about what that meant and what the scriptures reveal about those things. So go check it out. If you haven't checked it out yet, go check it out. Today we're going to talk about putting on the feet, the shoes, or binding or shodding the feet with the readiness or the preparation of the gospel of peace. Now, let me pull this verse up because many people read this incorrectly. Okay, this is in Ephesians chapter 6, and we're looking at verse 15, and it says, "And your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace." Now, remember, these people are putting on the whole armor of Elohim. They're putting it on. So they're not putting on the gospel of peace. They've already obtained this gospel. They've already believed this gospel. But what word they do forget to emphasize on is this word here: preparation. With the preparation of the gospel of peace. And it's not telling us that to prepare to receive the gospel. It's telling us to have a readiness to deliver the gospel. Let me show you what this word means in the Greek. The word for preparation is G2091. Right, G2091. Give me 1 second. All right. The preparation of the gospel, G2091, means the act of preparing, the condition of a person or thing so far forth as prepared or preparedness, readiness. So it's telling you to have a readiness to do something, a readiness to deliver. And this is why it's very important that we understand what we're developing, what we're trying to establish in our own minds is a readiness of the gospel. And what does that mean, a readiness of the gospel of peace? All right. The element that reveals the understanding of what the readiness is the fact that you are shodding your feet. Very important, this word shad as well. This word shad means to bind, to wrap up. Now, at the time, they had shoes that you would wrap around your ankles in order to hold the shoe steady. But I think that this is a very important aspect in regarding to binding this particular characteristic in your mind, to always stay ready to actually deliver this gospel of peace, or this good news of peace. Let's look at a few verses just to establish this idea. So Isaiah chapter 52, we're going to go to first. Isaiah chapter 52, looking at verse 7, it says, how beautiful upon the mountains are the feet of him that brings good tidings, that publishes peace, that brings good tidings of good and publishes salvation, that saith unto Zion, your Elohim reigns. Your watchmen shall lift up the voice, with the voice together they shall sing, and for they shall see eye to eye when Yah shall bring again Zion. So look at what it's saying. It's saying that how beautiful upon the mountains are the feet of him that brings good tidings and that publishes peace. This is the readiness, the desire to go and to give everyone the same thing that they possess themselves. If they receive the gospel, they want others to also receive the gospel. And I think that's a very important aspect to this readiness. It's the message of the good news that you've received, the transformation that you've received, that's causing you to desire to be ready, to bind it to your character, so that we could always be ready to tell somebody else about this salvation, this deliverance. Let's look at a few verses in Psalms 15, verse 2, and it says, well, let's look at verse 1 and 2. It says, Yah, who shall abide in your tabernacle, and who shall dwell in your holy hill? He that walks uprightly and works righteousness and speaks the truth in his heart. So again, in regards to the feet being bound with the readiness, it says he that walks uprightly. So it's very important that we understand the characteristics. And so it's not just somebody telling somebody something, it's somebody that they themselves are prepared to deliver because they are walking in it already. Let's go to Psalms 37. Psalms 37, looking at verse 31. It says, the law of Elohim is in his heart, none of his steps shall slide. And this is one of the aspects of binding the shoes. The reason why they wrap the shoe around, rather than wearing a slipper, they wrap the shoe around their ankles, so that way as they're moving, as they're running, the shoe can kind of be established onto their foot. Like it's not moving, it's not falling off, it's still. But there's even sometimes some examples where you could wear slippers and then you go outside and it's a little bit slippery, and then the slipper will slide right off the side of your foot, or depending on what kind of slipper you're wearing. But it says here, when the law of Elohim is in his heart, none of his steps shall slide. So it's about accepting the message first, establishing yourself, and then being ready to give it to someone else. I do have a few more verses. Let's go to Proverbs. Now, we did read a couple of these verses in the last one because they're all intertwined. It's talking about the same mind, the same mind of, that you have to gird, the same mind that, the breastplate is protecting a certain aspect of your mind. They're all going to connect in some way. So let's check out this verse here. Proverbs chapter 3. Looking at verse 3, it says, let not mercy and truth forsake you. Bind them around your neck and write them upon the tables of your heart. So just like we read with the law being in the heart and your feet don't slide, it says to bind them around your neck and write them upon the table of your heart. Bind them, like wrap them around. Make sure that it's solidified, that it's not moving around. The reason why it uses the neck is because the neck is the location where you turn your head. So Usually their attention, your neck allows you to turn your head so your attention could be focused wherever it is. When Yah would deal with Israel and Israel's stubbornness, he would refer to them as stiff-necked. He would call them a stiff-necked people because they were not turning or repenting or changing their direction of their perception, of their mind, of their eyes to the right thing. So this is why it says, bind them around your neck, write them upon the tables of your heart. Establish this. Let's go to chapter 7 of Proverbs as well. Chapter 7, looking at verse 2 and 3, it says, keep my commandments and live my law as the apple of your eye. Again, the apple of your eye, that word apple actually is referring to the pupil of your eye, referring to the scope, your perception. Allow it to be your focus. Bind them upon your fingers. Write them upon the table of your heart. Fingers and hands is a reference to your actions, your works, what you do, how you act, the manifestation of what's in your mind comes out in your actions. So he's saying bind them in your actions. Let your actions always reflect the law, the commandments, his truth. Put them in your heart. Allow your heart to desire them. Remember, we talked about the breastplate last time. Let me see if I have a few more verses. I have a verse in Nahum. Let's check that out. Nahum chapter 1, looking at verse 15, and then we're going to go to our final verse in 2 Timothy. Nahum chapter 1, looking at verse 15. Again, it says the same thing that we read in Isaiah. It says, behold, upon the mountains, the feet of him that brings good tidings, that publishes peace. O Judah, keep your solemn feasts, perform your vows, for the wicked shall no more pass through you. He is utterly cut off, meaning that the wicked would not, that Yah is not allowing a nation mixed with righteousness and wicked. He's only going to collect a nation that is righteous. And he's just warning, letting us know that we need to believe in order to receive that righteousness from him. All right, 2 Timothy chapter 4, looking at verse 2. Preach the word, be instant, in season, out of season, reprove, rebuke, exhort with all long suffering and doctrine. It says, preach the word and be instant, in season, out of season. When it's time, when it's not time, be willing and ready, right? Be ready to correct, to rebuke, to exhort all long suffering and doctrine and teachings. Why? Because it says in verse 3, the time will come when people will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lusts, they will heap up for themselves teachers having itching ears. They're gonna pursue teachers that's gonna give them things that they want to talk about, that they want to hear, that they want to look at, rather than the things that they don't, rather than the things that is more important for their deliverance, their salvation. So there's another verse that talks about being ready. So let me see if I could find this. See if I could find this. Sorry. All right. It says here in 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 15. Again, we're talking about the readiness of the gospel of peace. It says, sanctify the Master Elohim in your hearts. Be ready always. Be ready always to give an answer to every man that asks you a reason of the hope that is in you. This is very important. In you, with meekness and fear. Again, showing that the gospel, the shodding, the putting on of the feet, of the shoes, that binding them to your feet, so you can be ready to deliver the gospel of peace. a person must first have it in them before they're able to deliver it to everyone else. This is why one of the major things that I wanted to remind everybody of is that the armor of Yah is commanded to us for us to put them on, not for us to sit there and wait, but for us to receive these things first before they're able to utilize it. It's not just something you invoke or call on Yah to do for you. It's something that you put in effort and that you are already active in allowing Yah to enable you in that way. Enable your mind in that way. Gird your loins, breastplate, and shod your feet. We have a couple of more armor pieces that we're going to discuss. I hope that this was a blessing, a blessed meditation for you guys, and look forward to talking to you guys in the next step. Shalom, everyone.